We're live. Good morning. My name is Sean Shapiro. This is Ask a Traffic Cop, and it's that question and answer show on the internet where I, a traffic officer, answer your traffic and police questions. It's like magic. If you've got questions, we've got answers. And today is FriYay, so we also have Sergeant Campbell and dad jokes. I put him under pressure. I think he's feeling it. I told him that I told everybody in the world that we have dad jokes. So I may actually have to Google them. But if you have dad jokes, share your dad jokes today. And let's talk about what is a dad joke? What is it defined as? Is it just a joke that dad tells? Let's see here. What is a dad joke? Because I think dads are being unfairly accused of dad jokes. What's a dad joke? So a dad joke is an unoriginal or unfunny joke of a type supposedly told by middle-aged or older men. Okay, maybe it's accurate. Maybe dad jokes are a thing. In any case, if you got a good dad joke, share it with me. If you got questions, use the Q&A functionality of the platform you are on. What does that really mean? Well, if you're on Instagram, use the bubble with the question mark. Heck, if you're on TikTok, do the same because we have functionality in Q&A. We have some Q&A questions that are all set up and ready to go. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook, I'm going to try my reading glasses, see if I see better. Ooh, hey, look at everything zooming. Then use that because we can see everybody's comments except for those made on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter, use the link tree and join us on one of the other platforms that we have listed because it doesn't work on Twitter. Maybe Elon will fix that. You know, ever since Twitter got out of the Periscope business, it just stopped working. But I have faith. If you can make it a magical Tesla, you can fix Twitter. I have faith. Already. We have greetings and salutations, traffic safety fans from Akela Draconis, who joins us on a regular basis. Good morning. We have, for anyone who is not aware of the fact that we have a magical space on the internet specifically for folks who are watching this show and have questions. It's called Volley. Volley is a free app, and we love it. You can get to it by going to trafficcop.ca or going to the link tree in the bios, whatever platform you're on. It will take you to the Volley page. It's a space for traffic services, and in it, you can send me video, voice, or text. There's a Q&A function or a Q&A group. That's where you throw the Q&A questions. We'll play your voice live. We'll play your video. Well, you may not see the video, but we'll hear you. So if you want to send us a video, voice, or text, please use Volley. Ryan Pinn, good morning. Ryan's coming from Nova Scotia. He's a driving instructor out there, and he regularly joins us. And we appreciate him. Yeah, no, actually, he has amazing insights that he shares with us. And Safe Driver is another driving instructor, a man of many talents who joins us on a regular basis. But I haven't seen him yet. I don't know if he's here, but sometimes he pops in and says hello. Chase is starting us off with I can't. I have to wait. It's a great. I'm going to hold your dad joke for a little while longer. And Ryan will eat his snack that he's grabbing while his student takes. The student just passed her road test and grabbing a quick snack before the next lesson. Well, congratulations to the student who just passed. And while you have a quick snack, I will discuss Vision Zero. Vision Zero Enforcement Team, more specifically. It is a group of amazing officers who are making a difference on road safety, one ticket at a time. They go out and focus on different areas in the city every single day. They're directed to different areas based on the needs of the division, based on statistical analysis and stuff like that. But essentially, big brain people tell us where we need to deploy resources to most efficiently stop bad driving behavior. And it changes day to day. Today, the 28th of October, Vision Zero enforcement officers are in 23 Division and 41 Division. And it's been made very clear that not everybody knows what every division is in the city. It may not mean anything to you unless you know about the inner workings of our organization. However, those divisions service different communities, different neighborhoods, such as Rexdale, Jamestown, Martin Grove, Dorset Park, Kennedy Park, Birchcliff, Cliffside. Those are neighborhoods with real people who live there, and they want to be safe. They want to feel safe. They want the people who drive through there to be safe, and they deserve that. So if you are driving above the speed limit, if you're aggressively driving, if you're driving distracted, if you're driving impaired, under the influence of alcohol or drugs, expect to be visited by an officer who will give you a correcting ticket, or if in the event of impaired driving, an arrest. Yeah, we should know now everyone should know that impaired driving is against the law. It's a criminal offense. It's not just something you do and it it's just not okay. And neither is distracted driving. Neither is speeding or any kind of aggressive driving. Why can't we just get along and drive nicely on that shared resource we call the road? The highway. The highway is any road in Ontario, by the way. Expressways are the go fast ones or go faster, but they still have speed limits. People are very confused about this. They want to know how much over the speed limit they can go. And the answer is you can't go above the speed limit. Not legally, and you shouldn't. You shouldn't want to. What is the minimum speed limit compared to the maximum? Well, that's an interesting from the Nasty Nort. Is that the Nasty Nort or just Nasty Nort? Anyway, there is no minimum unless it's posted. And many roads do have minimums posted, not generally in Toronto, though. I think it's in Quebec that all of their highways have a maximum and minimum. In any case, there is a charge under the Highway Traffic Act called unnecessary slow driving. And if you are driving unnecessarily slowly and impeding traffic, well, then you might be a good candidate for that charge. Do we write that ticket a lot? No, not generally. It's reasonable to drive below the speed limit. The speed limit is a limit, not a minimum. So, it's the maximum, not a minimum. That's what I was trying to say. So, don't speed. And if you're going to go below the speed limit, stay to the right. Let the people who are choosing to drive at the speed limit go on the left lane and go faster. That's the speed. That's the whole idea of what people refer to as the passing lane, even though it's not a passing lane. And by the way, when you are passing in the lane commonly referred to as a passing lane, you are not allowed to speed. Yes, otherwise you get a ticket. Good morning and happy FriYay from Leo Wife. Good morning. Leo Wife is my wife, my magical wife. It's FriYay. I get to stay home for the next 2 days and hang out with her. Very excited. What is this? What information are police required to provide if demanded? I don't know what you mean. They want to know your badge number? I don't know. There's information that's obviously, is secret information, but what do you mean? You want to walk up and what's your name, officer? Well, what's on our uniforms? And we have our badge numbers listed on there too. So Chase, I don't know what you mean. But Chase, this might be the time to kick off the dad joke, even though Sergeant Campbell is late to the party. We'll share the dad joke that Chase sent us. He says, what do you call an alligator in a vest? Any guesses? Alligator in a vest. An investigator. I like that. That actually works. I like it when the dad jokes are police related. That's extra special. Okay, let's get into some questions in the Q&A because they're stacking up. Why did I get pulled over for going 85 and an 80? Unless that's a dad joke, I'm assuming it's because you were speeding. 85 and an 80 is against the law. It's called speeding. And that's probably why you got pulled over, because speeding's illegal. There is no allowable amount over. Any amount, if you do 1 kilometer over the speed limit, you're speeding. You're eligible for a ticket of speeding. The amount of money you are fined is based on the number of kilometers over the speed limit, but you're still speeding. You should never be going even 1 kilometer over. It's against the law. I don't know why, but it's very, very, it's very confusing for many people. Someone asked, booster in front seat, airbag off. So it is suggested that children stay in the back seat until they're 14 years old. That doesn't matter if they are required to wear a booster ride in a booster, a car seat of any kind, back seat until 14. Now, if you don't have a back seat, that's a different story. Modern cars will, if they don't have a switch, and newest of the new cars no longer have a switch to turn them off. There is a sensor in the seat that's supposed to disable the airbag. Why? Because airbags can be deadly for children. So that's one of the other reasons we want back seat. But can you have a booster in the front seat? You can. There's no law preventing you from putting a child in the front seat. It's just a matter of survivability. You want to keep them in the back seat as long as possible. Stephen says, hi, good morning. How are you today? And Stephen, I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking. It's Friday. Who could be having anything less than a magical Friday on a FriYay? Yeah, it's Friday. I'm quite excited. Can you enforce stop signs in a parking lot? The answer simply is no. Stop sign charges are not something we can lay in a parking lot. Dangerous driving, which is criminal, or stunt driving, which is under the Highway Traffic Act, can be enforced in a parking lot. So if you were driving in such a way that you were just being dangerous for all persons, well, yeah, you could be charged, and in a not so friendly way, depending on what you're doing. But simply rolling a stop sign, no, we can't enforce it. You are, however, eligible or responsible for anything and damage you cause. So if that running of the stop sign resulted in a collision, yeah, you'd still be the person at fault. But we can't even lay the charge to say you were careless in a collision because you can't lay careless charges on private property. It's confusing, isn't it? It really is. I'd love to see it where we could lay all appropriate charges on private property because you're still driving. Okay. So Amanda wants to know, this is a question coming in from whatchamacallit. This is Volley. What is your department doing to ensure true and transparent accountability for discriminatory policing, including at individual officer level? Well, I won't get too deep into this because I'm not an administrative officer. Like I'm not a management officer. I can tell you that what do? We are the most scrutinized profession in the world. We have oversight that is both civilian and internal. And if there was found to be something that was truly discriminatory, then the officer is going to be held responsible for it. But I don't think that, and this is me speaking as not a representative of the service, but just telling you my thoughts. I don't see it. I don't see it. I've never pulled over a car because of who's driving the car. I pull over the car because the person is driving it in a way that is against the law. They're breaking the traffic laws. I don't drive. I don't even know who's in the car until I pull it over. So, to say, what are we doing to stop that? I just have never experienced it in the 20 years that I've been a member of the service. But I'm sure it exists somewhere, and when it's found, it's dealt with appropriately. That's why we have sergeants and rank and civilian oversight and so on. But I appreciate your question. I don't have the political or learned answer to give you the nuts and bolts of that. That's a very, it's all over the news. That's a corporate communications kind of question. Okay. Can you smoke or vape while driving? Yes, except if you have a child, and I say child, and if you're, in the age of 16 or 15, please don't be upset with me for saying child. But if someone is under the age of 16, they're considered a child, and you can be charged as a driver for smoking or vaping if they're in the vehicle. So if you have a 15-year-old passenger and you vape, it's under the Smoke-Free Ontario Act, you're eligible for a charge. And of course, if there's anything in the vape juice that is illegal, prohibited, if it's got THC, if it's a drug, then that's a problem as well. This is a good time. I should write this one down. What's your favorite? What's your car's favorite food? Traffic jam. Ba-dum-bum. And I'll tell you why that's extra funny for me, because the TPS Traffic Jam is our podcast where we interview different people and jam about traffic. So it's the Traffic Jam. So now I've got to utilize that. I got to screen capture that. I'm taking a picture of. I now have so many phones. Here, I'm taking this picture here. I really do like that. Thank you for the. I love the dad jokes. I think every FriYay should be dad joke FriYay. Michael says, "Top of the morning, Sean." Well, top of the morning to you too, Michael, who is very active on the. Michael's very active on Volley. I appreciate it. If you want to jump on Volley, where you can send video, voice, or text, please feel free to jump on either by the link tree that is available in our account, or trafficcop.ca will take you there, along with all my other social media stuff. Akela jumps in about the smoking and vaping. Smoking in a work vehicle is forbidden. It is. You're not allowed to smoke in your workplace. If you work in a vehicle, that is your workplace, and you can be charged under the Smoke-Free Ontario Act for that as well. So good stuff to know. What do we have here? Can you cross a solid white or yellow line? You can. In Ontario, you can. In other provinces, it may be prohibited, but there's no offense for crossing a line. However, if you look at the HOV lines on the 400 series highways, those are actually supported by a sign. The sign says, "Do not cross the line." That means when you cross the line, you're violating the sign, not the line, and then you can be charged for those specifically. The difference between solid white and solid yellow is what direction the traffic is going on the other side of that line. Something that is in the book of knowledge that you learned how to drive from. Ooh, I can wave to TPS Bike Hurt, who joined our live. Okay, we got stuff. We got stuff to talk about here. Can any prescription meds be illegal while driving? Well, if they cause you to be impaired or cause drowsiness, obviously that's something you should not be driving under. Just because they are prescription doesn't make them legal, because you can be impaired by those. So you could be charged for impaired by drug, even if it's prescription medication. Oh, Amanda has follow-up questions. No, I'm not familiar with any of this situation you're talking about in Vancouver. Let's see here. Can airbags be deadly? Yes, they can be. Airbags can be deadly, which is why they have to be used in conjunction with seatbelts. Smaller persons, when you have a bag that's deploying at 200 to 300 kilometers an hour, we're talking serious velocity, and you could find those to be dangerous, which is why you have to wear your seatbelt in conjunction with them. Michael says, speaking of HOV, I was on a bus in a bus lane and started wondering who chose diamond symbol for HOV lanes, not a square, circle, or triangle. That is some deep thoughts there, sir. I don't have an answer for you. Why are they diamonds instead of squares? I don't know. That was not in my entrance exam for the police service, so I have no answers for you. But it's. I love the answer. I love the questions. Okay. Let's see here. I just got new brakes on my van yesterday. Congratulations, Stephen. Actually, I need to go and take my vehicle for service. I need to start talking about my winter tires, and that means I need to buy a new one because I had a damaged tire, and it was perfect timing because there was a bulge in the tire, so I replaced with my summers because it was that time, or my all seasons, and now it's time to put my winters back on because the temperatures are starting to hover around that 7 degree mark. So I have to buy a new set of rear tires. Okay. Ryan Pin adds a comment. SRS. Seatbelt restraint system airbags are supplemental and should always be used in conjunction with seatbelts. Yes, I have this conversation with my dad all the time. Students he's got to go. Students are here. Okay. But yes, people who drive assuming the airbag is going to save them may be very surprised to find out that that's not how it works. But that is not, you got to wear a seatbelt. And it's the law. What is this? Can I drive a toy car with engine or battery, but not 16? Well, a toy car is a toy car, and it's not something you can drive on the road. If it's something that's on your private property, well, then that's a separate situation. Those could be operated. When you talk about on a trail or on public property or in a park, those are not permitted anywhere at all. Now, but toy is that thing we're talking about. If you're talking about an ATV or a side-by-side, those are beyond that of a toy. They do require certain things when you are on property other than that of your own. I think that all came out right. Front plates. Why do we need them and not Quebec? Well, because Quebec is a different province, and they have determined that they don't need them there. The province of Ontario reviewed the concept of getting rid of the front plates when Premier Ford came in, and then he took some advice, and the advice from the police and professionals that weighed in said that public safety suggests front plates are good. You actually double your chances of identifying a vehicle by having two plates. Another thing, when people rear-end other people and then run away, very often the front plate is the evidence that they leave behind. It's amazing. The truth is, there are things like Amber Alerts, and when seconds matter, more opportunity to identify a vehicle is good. Additionally, when the plate isn't there, it's cause for investigation. So we find more people and vehicles for that reason as well. Sergeant Kraft is in the building. Okay. Why do people tailgate and drive at 130 on the 401 left? I don't know what the left part is. Do you mean left lane? We have a big problem in this province, and I'm sure it's a problem that's exists elsewhere as well. And that is people don't care about speed limits, possibly because they're not getting enough enforcement. They're not getting enough tickets issued, and they're not losing their licenses, and they're not getting the points needed to affect the outcome of whether or not they can drive a car. But they're not remembering that driving is a privilege, and that privilege can be taken away. So as we see more and more enforcement, hopefully they'll change their behavior before they kill somebody, because that's a major problem. Tailgating and speeding in the combination, just bad. Bad. Okay. Michael says, Power Wheels and RC toys do not require a license, but should also not drive in traffic. Yes, thank you. Toys are not allowed on the road, and skateboards aren't allowed on the road. Did you know that? Skateboards are not allowed on the road. It's amazing. What are the laws regarding radar detectors? Well, they change between state and state and province and province. In Ontario, they're illegal. If you have one, you're violating that rule. If you use one, you're also violating the rule. If you buy or sell one, you're violating the rule. And I say rule, I mean law. If you are believed to have one, the Highway Traffic Act gives police the authority to search and seize that vehicle, not the vehicle, but the item within the vehicle. Search the vehicle and seize the item, and it's a $170 charge, 2 demerit points, regardless if you use it or just possess it. So people who are driving through and that's stuck to the window, that's enough reason to stop them and search the vehicle for it, seize it. Well, they saw it, it's there. But it's very easy to detect. There are radar detectors, but the truth is that when we're doing speed measurement, speed enforcement, most people with radar detectors stand out like a sore thumb. They think that they're being very, very smart, but very often it doesn't end well for them. Now, aside from the fact that it's illegal, there's a reason why it's illegal. And at least there's a perspective I'd like you to consider. What people do when they have radar detectors is they modify their behavior temporarily when they're presented with the information that they might get caught. Well, that's not good. Why? Because it's just acting nice to avoid a ticket. It's not actually driving safely. So driving safely all the time is the goal. We want to catch you when you do bad things, and we want you to remember that you got caught so you don't do it again. So the whole idea is about changing behavior. And if you don't want a ticket, don't do the crime. It is a crime, and it's not victimless, although people seem to think so. Speeding leads to serious injury and death when things go sideways. And if it hasn't gone sideways for you yet, you're lucky or you're due. Okay, are U-turns illegal? If not, where is it safe to do? So U-turns are not specifically or exclusively illegal. They are illegal in the province of Ontario unless it's unsafe to do so or it's signed. And additionally, the unsafe to do so list includes curves in roadways where visibility is reduced, crest and grade where visibility is reduced, tunnels, viaducts, bridges, railway crossings, all these places where visibility is reduced or it's just not safe. So at the end of the day, whenever you perform a U-turn maneuver, you are entirely responsible for what's happening. And when it goes wrong, again, you are entirely responsible. So it's not a blanket situation. Now, if there's a sign that says no U-turn, that means that you cannot perform a U-turn there or for the following 150 meters. How do I prevent catalytic converter theft? The truth is you can do things to make your vehicle less attractive for theft and for catalytic converter theft, but the end of the day, if they want it, they're going to get it. I mean, I've heard of people welding cages to the bottom to protect their cats, and they've still got them. So you can do things to park in well-lit areas, to park in your garage, but there's no perfect solution, unfortunately. Andrew says, "Hey Sean, is a car with an illegal exterior light impounded? Saw one yesterday and was wondering, and the guy could just get away with a ticket. What do you mean by illegal exterior lights?" Well, first of all, that aside, I want to know more about your exterior lights that are illegal, but you can have maximum of 4 lights over 300 lumens pointed to the front. That's the maximum. So if you had 5 lights, improper headlights, but that's not a charge that we would impound for. In fact, the only time we impound are going to be, there's a VIP program, that's something separate, but then there's going to be for stunt driving, which will get you a 30-day impound. A 30-day suspension on your license and a 14-day impound, or for something related to impaired driving. So those are the reasons that we would impound. But having lighting on the vehicle isn't one of them. You could be charged. You could have your license plates pulled if it's deemed part of an unsafe vehicle situation, but not impounded. When will e-bike laws be more enforced? I'd love to see it strictly enforced now. The truth is we don't have enough officers to do everything all the time. So an officer who is traffic-minded and knows what the deal is with very specific traffic laws like e-bike laws may be very interested in doing that. But the truth is when we see someone who's speeding, there's a higher likelihood of injury or death with that behavior than e-bikes. Now, there are e-bikes that are doing really silly things, and we should be, and I would love to see them all enforced. But our focus has always been on the big 4, and that is the folks who choose to speed, drive aggressively, drive distracted, and drive impaired. That's not to say we ignore e-bikes, but more enforcement, maybe we'll do a campaign. I'd love to see a campaign that is focused on people who specifically violate and modify e-bikes to make them motor vehicles, at which point that's a whole different ball of wax that's brought up. Okay. What are the Ontario laws on modified car limits? Well, that's a very broad question. And you have to ask me something a little more specific than that. Like, you want to know about headlights? You want to hear about? Amanda, I appreciate that you have a lot of questions all about racism and things like that. This is a traffic show, and I appreciate you asking questions, but we're not going to derail everything to deal with it. If you want to keep asking these questions here, we can answer them later, but you're the only person who's on this topic, so we'll come back to you. And this, our offline stuff, which is this particular group, Volley, we'll spend time with you afterwards. And at very least, we can direct you to the appropriate people. And let's see here. We're going to go back to the Q&A. So going back, you got very specific stuff from modified cars. Bring it on. We'll talk about each individual one. What is this? If it goes off and the phone is in I don't know what this is. Can I pass my phone to my wife? That is my passenger. If my phone is, okay. So the phone goes off. It's in your pocket, and can I pass it to my wife? Technically speaking, you cannot touch your phone. You can't go into your pocket to grab it. You can't have it in your hand because holding it is use technically. And people have been charged for picking up a phone they say dropped on the dropped on the floor. So I would just let it go to voicemail. That's the best answer. Or connect it to Bluetooth well in advance of driving. Now, Andrew wants to clarify that the exterior lighting that he was referring to is flashing green or red lights on the dash. So if someone had a flashing red light, that's very possible that they are impersonating a police officer, and that could be a criminal charge. Would it get an impoundment of the vehicle? Only if we arrested and took the driver away would we impound the vehicle to protect the vehicle. But not. There's no impoundment law that's triggered by having a light when you're not entitled to have it. Not directly. Okay. What happens if an underage driver is driving? Well, they'd be driving without a license, and they would be charged accordingly. And the person who gave them access to a vehicle would be responsible for what happens. They're uninsured, they're driving without a license, and if the parent or guardian or person who was responsible for that car gave them the keys, well, they would be charged as well. If that underage driver took it without consent, the owner wouldn't be charged, but the child, depending on their age, would be criminally charged for take vehicle without consent. So not a good idea. Not a good idea at all. Okay. Can we fight an old ticket which is paid for already? There is an opportunity for you to go to and apply to the court, and you can speak to I think it's a justice of the peace, an intake justice, and they would look at reopening. My understanding, and it's a long time ago that I was in a court because I used to work in courts as a court officer. But the deal is that you can apply. I think you have to pay the fine, and then you can apply, and if you win, you get it back. But once you've already been found guilty, it's a process called reopening, and they don't have to give it to you. Let's see here. What is this? We covered this question. White strobe flashing light on school buses. Like, what's it for? I think it's just a safety beacon. It's legal. They're there for a reason. They're above the average. They're not flashing in your eyes because they're well above they're on the top of the vehicle. But I'm not sure the reason. I've often wondered why they're there, but I think it's just for safety. Okay. Stephen is now planning to give his wife his cell phone before leaving to avoid any issues of that nature. Okay. How do I get over a fear of driving on the highway? Hi! Sergeant Campbell's joining us. You've missed a couple of dad jokes already. But they're actually so good that I'll share them with you. And actually, since we're on this topic, do you know why? We got to give him an opportunity to put his headphones on. I'll let me know when you're ready, and I'll give you the mic.
Hey, Sean.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. We've had a very active group. It's been a busy, busy morning.
Excellent.
And Jacob says hi.
Hello, Jacob.
The question was white strobe on top of school bus. And there was no specific as to what that question was or it was intended to be. But the question that I'm making up from this is, do you know why they're there?
You know what? I think this is I saw them years and years ago in the U.S. I think it is to draw attention to them, that they are a higher risk vehicle carrying higher risk passengers. And I don't know the legality of putting a white strobe on top of it. A flashing white light is different from a flashing red or blue light or yellow light. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
But in terms of the motivation, I think it's just to identify it in the event that we're trying to find the school bus, like from a helicopter or something.
You know what? I don't know. And like I said, in traveling years and years ago, maybe 20 years ago, school buses in Florida all had flashlights.
Oh yeah, in the States it's been around for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So Jacob has a joke. It says, why did the celery get arrested?
I don't know.
It was stalking. So
Is that a dad joke or is that just a really bad joke?
well, I think it depends on the age of the teller. I don't know if now Jacob isn't technically old enough to be claimed as middle age, but it is. I had to look up the definition of dad joke, and it's basically a bad or unfunny joke told by a middle-aged person, possibly a dad.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
I was always wondering when a joke becomes a dad joke.
I think it's when you tell it.
No. When it becomes apparent.
So this is a joke that Chase gave earlier, and for anyone who missed it, it's for everyone's benefit. What do you call an alligator in a vest?
An alligator in a vest.
An investigator. It's actually pretty good. Like,
You know what? I see the theme here too. It's got police type, theme to it. I like it.
I do too. I do too. And then we got another one that was earlier. Let me get to this. I took a picture. It was so good, and it was, what's a car's favorite food?
My car, gasoline.
Well, for this joke, it's a traffic jam, which I thought was funny because that's the name of our podcast.
Bum.
Yeah. And okay, so it was really bad. Okay, are you allowed to have headers on your car?
Headers, yes.
They kind of need to, don't you have to have them on there in order for the engine to run?
So a header is a specific type of exhaust portion that goes right from the engine down to the first required piece of emissions equipment. So an exhaust manifold and an exhaust header perform the same function. One works better depending on the length of it. There is benefits to having equal length of every exhaust pipe that's coming off the engine before it goes into the collector. There are benefits to it.
This is way too technical for me.
Yeah. So yes, for higher horsepower engines, yes, it is legal. A awful lot of manifolds now have a I'm having a brain fart. Catalytic converter placed as close to the engine as they possibly can. So their manifold and their catalytic converter are all in one. In that case, if you remove the catalytic converter, it would not be legal.
Okay.
The benefit to moving it closer to the engine is it gets hotter and burns more unburnt gas coming out of the engine. It's cleaner, more efficient.
And because I don't want to miss this, Moody has a question, has a dad joke. He says, why did the coffee call 911?
Because it was mugged.
Yes, it was mugged.
There we go. Got that one.
Okay. We have, how long is it taking to get a trial date in Toronto? I don't know. I don't know where we're at right now. I know that during the pandemic, it got quite backed up. The 1 year, which was normally the limit, it was then extended to 2 years to accommodate. And yeah, I don't know if they've gone beyond that. But if you have not received any information, I would suggest following up with the courts. I think things are coming back into play. Okay. Interesting question. Actually, this is from Amanda. Roadside stops. Why would an officer refuse a driver to be allowed to take their prescription inhaler for asthma prior to a breathalyzer? I don't know. So to give you that. But possibly because I think you have to keep a 15-minute window before you can perform a test.
Right. So if you're putting something into your lungs that is a drug, that is a stimulant, can that be picked up when you're doing a roadside test? Maybe not an alcohol test, but it may change a cannabis screening, may change a screening test.
Yeah.
Because it is a stimulant, right? It is a drug. It comes out of a prescription. It's a regulated drug.
Interesting. Yeah. And Jacob says, I assume if it's a steroid inhalant, then it can affect the results detrimentally. But you know what? Neither one of us are specialists in that area. And there are people who are, and they're the best people to ask. We will have to put a pin in that one and make the question to the pros.
You know what? Yeah, and we can
circle back. This is actually a volley question, so we can answer that question on volley later.
we could get the expert to do it.
Well, I don't know. They're camera shy. What's the Ontario rules on hitches while not towing? There's no specific rule. We've had quite a lot of conversation, Sergeant Campbell and I, on this. And while it's not illegal to have it in there, we make the assumption or the assertion that if you were to be involved in a collision and cause unnecessary and additional damage due to the fact that the hitch is there for no reason other than you left it there, your insurance company may choose not to cover it. But there's no law that I'm aware of that it's violating.
You know what? Our cars are designed to accept an impact of 5 mile an hour. We all need 5 mile an hour bumpers. And I'm saying 5 mile an hour because that was the U.S. standard that came out in, I can't remember what year it was, in the early 90s. By putting a trailer hitch on the back of your car, it is not, like if you're putting the receiver portion and leaving it hanging out, it doesn't stick out farther than the required where you have to have it illuminated or a flag on it. But it is going to change the structure of your car because that impact is going to be absorbed directly into that, which translates right over to your frame. And you may find, buckling of your frame. You may find it changes the structural integrity of your car after an impact, where a bumper is designed to absorb that impact. So you may be doing more harm than good.
Many people have said that they believe that they're protecting their cars, that they damages the other vehicle instead of their vehicle, so they do it as a preventative measure. But that may not be working the way you think it is.
No, you may protect the plastic cover that's over your bumper that is easily replaceable, and end up with a damaged frame of a car.
Here's a question about large road scooters with pedals. Are they e-bikes? So an e-bike has a specific requirement, or a couple of them. You have to be, it has to have pedals for one, working pedals. It must be less than 120 kilos in weight. It must have no more than 500 watts of power of motor. And then it has to be limited to 32 kilometers an hour on a flat surface. So the size of the vehicle, as long as it meets all of those things, I don't think is really an issue. Now, there was a discussion about reclassifying different types. The ones that look like Vespas would be a different class as one that's like a pedelec, where it's a mountain bike that happens to have a battery and a hub that additionally adds power and augments your energy. So it depends, and things are constantly changing. At the moment, if it qualifies for the things I just mentioned, then it is an e-bike. And if it does anything beyond that, is more than 500 watts, more than 120 kilos, and goes more than 32 kilometers an hour, well, that's a motorcycle, and it needs license, ownership, and insurance. And I saw here that someone said they don't agree with it. Well, that's too bad. That's the rules. If you don't agree with it, buy a motorcycle, buy a low-powered moped, and get the appropriate licenses, insurances, and pay for your plates.
Sean, they are a motorcycle by definition.
True.
It can be run by muscular power, but it is not. It's being run by electrical power. And it still falls within the criminal code as a motor vehicle.
Absolutely. So you can still be charged for impaired operation if you're under the influence of drugs or alcohol. There's responsibilities, but there's a lot of people who are upset, and I think rightfully so. The people who choose to drive motor vehicles, who pay for insurance, and they go out and they drive safely, only to be met by an e-bike operator who damages their vehicle, and then it's their insurance instead of the e-bikes that's paying for it.
Right.
So it's controversial. There's a lot of feelings, big feelings about the topic, but it is interesting, and it's constantly evolving. We're seeing better technology, faster e-bikes, more powerful e-bikes, and as such, they're, I'm sure, going to have to shift into a level of some frame of legislation to accommodate them. 'Cause right now, they're either motorcycles or they're e-bikes, and I think they're going to have to continue to isolate and identify all the different types. After you print the ticket for what's this question? Can you print time change if you add more charges later after you print the first ticket? What? Can you print time change if you add more charges later? So I'm not sure where we're going with this, but every ticket will likely have the timestamp of when it was generated, but the evidence will say when the offense took place. So I think that's where you're going.
I was kind of thinking, Sean, that he was saying, if you don't get served at the time, can you add more charges later?
Yes, absolutely. We can attend and serve you with charges after the fact. We have up to 6 months delayed charges under the Highway Traffic Act. So absolutely, and then some acts we have, like insurance, the Mandatory Automobile Insurance Act. 3 years we have to delay the charge. I like that one. I'm really big on laying insurance charges. I don't like the fact that people go out there and risk lives and safety driving uninsured vehicles because they don't want to pay.
Yeah, and in the end, they end up paying an awful lot more. Not only the fines, but they could be paying for the rest of their life should somebody get hurt and get sued.
I know somebody who, and I've told the story a number of times, but they had a courier business. They worked for their parents' company. The courier business was purchasing pink slips, thinking they were buying insurance, but it was fraudulent. The company selling them was pocketing the money, not actually getting the insurance covered. Well, they ended up getting involved in the collision, and they paid for many years out of pocket. But the people who think they're fooling somebody and getting away with something, eventually their luck runs out. Alan says, my shins remind me to remove my hitch receiver regularly.
Yes, mine too.
The ouchie is real. Did you know that singing in the shower is fun until you get soap in your mouth? Then it becomes a soap opera. What's your windshield tint? What's your take? Well, there's only one take you can make, and that is it's illegal. In the province of Ontario, you may not have any tint on your windshield, save and except for vehicles that are manufactured before 2017. They can have up to 3 inches of tint across the top, but new vehicles cannot have any. And the take is that you're reducing your ability to see. We require light. Our eyes function on light. You put less light and into your eye, you see less stuff. You may be fooling yourself to think that you can see great, but it's not the case. In any case, it's unsafe, and it would deem your vehicle unsafe. We could take your license plates for that very reason. You
know what, Sean? That probably even beats out the tinted taillights. As my personal opinion, the dumbest thing you could ever do to a car.
Now, here's a funny thing, and yes, I agree with you that tinted taillights is the dumbest thing you can do to a car, but many people are saying, well, why, if you can't tint your windshield, are you permitted to tint your eyeglasses? Because you're reducing the amount of, well, the fact is you can take your sunglasses off when it's not sunny, and it may temporarily be okay to tint your glasses because seeing nothing is, because of the bright light, is dangerous. So this is actually a plus, but at night, it's a major issue. That does not mean that you can drive a vehicle with a tinted windshield during the day. It's a non-starter. You can never have tinted windshield. But there's other reasons. You can't obscure the interior of your vehicle. You have to make it so that pedestrians can see inside and make eye contact if necessary with a driver. Important safety things.
And you know what, Sean? We need to see the people that are inside cars too.
100%. It's not just the windshield; it's the the front driver, driver and passenger window. The windows directly left and right of the driver. Those must be light enough that we can see, identify, and observe what's going on inside the passenger compartment. We have to make sure you're not using your cell phone, wearing your seatbelt, not drinking alcohol, and be able to identify them, whomever is inside that vehicle. Important stuff also for pedestrians to be able to see and for you to be able to see out. Looking cool, and I understand solar load being cool is a thing, but it's not at the expense of safety. Stephen would like to know what it means if the engine light is on.
So we're talking about the malfunction indicator light. So if it is on and it is solid yellow, it means that there is an issue with the vehicle emission system. Now, any issue with a vehicle can cause a malfunction with the emission system. It originally was put there in 1996 for all vehicles to have just specifically for emissions, but it now captures pretty much everything that's going on within your car and within the engine itself. There is so much data that's stored there. If there's a misfire, it may not trigger your light to come on right away, but then again it could, because that does affect emissions. If it is, most vehicles will go back into a limp home mode. So it'll go back to a general. Your vehicle learns the way you drive and it learns the environment you're driving in. So it goes back to a general limp home mode, and your vehicle emissions will increase, your gas consumption will increase, and it's recommended you get it in and get it fixed.
And at the end of the day, you need a scanner to really know what it means.
And some knowledge about what the codes are that are coming out of them.
Somebody, I got a question up talking about excessive road noise. I was going to say roid noise, cars and motorcycles. We'll come back to that in a second. I happened to notice this comment in the chat. Scroll by. It says, "Would a cop notice if I was in the HOV lane with a blow-up doll in the passenger seat?" I can tell you that I know someone who rode a motorcycle with a mannequin on the back of it. They were stopped and charged. I don't think that's a good plan of attack for getting HOV use. But circling back to, can you talk about excessive noise from cars and motorcycles? I can talk about it all day long. What would you like to know about it? It's wrong. And we are actively issuing tickets for people that we see violating it. It's not something that we can focus on. I say that because our focus is always going to be on the stuff that leads to serious injury and death on our roads, the speeders, the aggressive drivers, distracted drivers, impaired drivers. That's the stuff that we know. Those driving behaviors that people choose to engage in that kills people and hurts people. So when we talk about excessive noise, that does harm the community, but it's a much lower level of concern than the ones that are unfortunately taking place all the time. Unnecessary noise is a real thing. People trying to sleep, trying to work. They've actually medically determined that it is a health concern, a health risk.
And you know what, Sean? I don't think there's anything else I've seen just regular citizens get more upset about than the noise of really loud vehicles racing around.
Yeah. There was a retired officer. Sorry, go ahead.
That seems to really, really upset everybody all the time. And they want us to actually focus our attention on that.
It's one of the number one complaints that both the city gets as well as we do as a police service. We get calls. So it's a real thing. Now, if you want to know what the limits are, chances are if you've modified I'll go back. Even a stock car, I don't mean a stock car, a race car. I mean a stock from factory. I always say Honda Civic. That vehicle could create unnecessary noise. It could be your stereo that's causing the unnecessary noise, your horn for no reason. It could be your squealing of tires, which also happens to be stunt driving. And it could be defect or behavior. So many different things could constitute unnecessary noise. And what is it? Well, it's unnecessary to the safe operation of your vehicle. That's it. What do you call a fish wearing a bow tie? Sophisticated. I like that. I like that a lot.
I think I'm going to have to keep that one.
Yeah, that
one's pretty good.
That's excellent. Thank you for sharing that one. Okay. Can I tint my motorcycle windshield? Motorcycle windshields are not specifically outlined, I don't think. And most motorcycle windshields are wind screens. You don't look through them, you look above them. If you're looking through a windshield, it's probably too tall for you and unsafe for many reasons. But yeah, most windshield, and you can buy a slightly tinted one. Like I had one. Mine got damaged by a mechanic, and replaced with a clear one. But I had a slightly tinted one, and it was very minor tint. If you talk about the ones that are for race bikes, you're not looking through that. Okay.
You know what, Sean? Yeah, it may make it look good, but really, why would you want to do that?
It's all about style.
Why would you put yourself at risk? Not being able to see something on the road if it's blocking. I don't know.
Yeah. Again, reducing your ability to see when it's, especially on a motorcycle where your life is, you need to see. You need to be the better person who's looking for all the potential issues. Head on a swivel.
Yeah.
Is romance in your car public indecency? Well, there's no reasonable prospect of, no reasonable expectation of privacy inside of a motor vehicle. So if you were to be naked in your motor vehicle, could you be charged for public nudity? I think you could.
Yeah, that's a term. It's a U.S. term. There is a charge up here for it. But you know what? Common sense.
Yeah, there's probably more going on at that point than just decide to air everything out. But yeah, sexual acts would be a problem. Let's see here. We got they wanted a reopening of the reopening question. So how to reopen old ticket? Please explain again. You'd need to apply at a courthouse for a reopening. You'd have to meet with a justice of the peace to make your case as to why you should be able to reopen a case that you've already been found guilty on. And if they approved it, then you'd, I believe, have to pay the fine, and then upon the results of that reopening, you'd either get a refund or you wouldn't.
Sean, are you talking a reopening or an appeal?
I see reopening. This is usually when you've not been found guilty, but you missed the date. It was found.
So you're found guilty in absentia.
That's the one. And
you want to have an opportunity to have your trial. Yeah, you'd have to convince a JP, Justice of the Peace, why you missed the first one and you had reasonable excuse for it, they could reopen it again for you, and you could have an opportunity to have your trial.
And
all
as you
over again.
said, when you said appeal, if you were found guilty in court, that's a different situation. You're appealing the decision of a court, and that's a separate game. How to get over the fear of driving on a highway. I read that earlier. I don't know if I actually selected it. You know what? There are driving instructors who specialize in teaching people who have some fears, but if you're truly, truly scared, maybe driving is not your thing.
Well, maybe stay off the highway.
Yeah. My father-in-law will not drive on the highway. He's terrified of it. So he doesn't drive. He just drives in local streets.
And there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you're competent to drive in the local streets, why put yourself through it?
And oddly enough, highways are statistically less dangerous than side streets. There's fewer collisions in general on there. And but why give yourself unnecessary stress? If you don't need it, don't do it. Why isn't there more policing of left lane campers? Let me ask you a more important question. Why isn't there more policing of people who are choosing to exceed the speed limit? You know, the fact is we focus on the people who are adding risk to others. And yes, people who are going too slow are adding risk. They should be in the right lanes. But there are far too many people who think that no one should go at or below the speed limit. And it's not exactly the way you think. You know, there are signs in some highways that say slower moving traffic, stay to right, and that's cool. That's enforceable. If someone's driving, 30 kilometers under the speed limit, they could be lawfully doing it. You know, it's raining, it's snowing, it's road conditions. It's not because they're a vehicle or they're scared, just because they don't have to do the speed limit. But if they're doing it in the left lane, I understand where you're coming from, and we do lay charges for unnecessary slow driving. OPP is very big on that. I was waiting for you to
Yeah, I'm just biting my tongue.
Yeah.
It's something that really bugs me. I think it's ignorant of drivers. I think when we're out there, this driving on highways or on roadways is a cooperative effort.
Yes.
We have to do it in conjunction with everybody else that's using the roadways, including pedestrians and cyclists. And you know what? If you're being ignorant about one thing, you're probably being ignorant about other things that I wasn't going to say anything, but there you go. You gave me the look.
I didn't understand why there wasn't anything coming out from your seat. This is a topic I know you've got opinions on. Marco wants to know if you can accelerate fast up to speed. So this is where the light goes green and you drop it and go. Could you, as I've described it, where you're accelerating very quickly? Do you think there might be some problems? Maybe, I don't know, having people dive out of the way because they don't understand what you're about to do. You could be scaring the public. You could be, doing something that is counter to what the rest of the public assumes you're going to do. It could be something that could be considered dangerous, careless. It could be even stunt, depending on how it's interpreted. Driving reasonably and cooperatively is important. Pedestrians are gauging your speed, what the average person is going to do. And by accelerating very quickly, you could end up with a ton of different things. But it all depends. There's no definitive, thou shalt not accelerate quickly.
You know what? Two separate offenses there, Sean. One of them is speeding, with the maximum you're allowed. But the other one is racing. If you're doing it because there's a car beside you that you want to beat to the light or beat to the next set of lights, or you know what? I for whatever reason, there is a charge for racing. Two separate things.
And what if you're racing yourself? What if you're racing the clock? Could you be racing without another vehicle on the road? I don't know.
It all depends on the situation.
It really does. At the end of the day, I would not promote anyone to. If you want to go fast, you want to figure out what your acceleration is. Go take it to a track. Take it to a track day, whether it be a drag track or a circle track or a track. I don't know, tracks. You can go and pay a nominal fee to have access to a track to test your car out. Do it. That's the way to do it.
And it's fun too. I've done it.
I've not done it. I've been to tracks, but I've never tracked the car.
You know what? Just a suggestion on that. Make sure that it is okay with your insurance. If something happened, a lot of insurance coverage would not qualify you to be on the racetrack.
Yes, insurance will not cover you there. I had this conversation recently when I was at Calabogie, talking to Travis Hill, who is one of the owners of Tooth Auto Sports, and he was talking about the whole insurance thing. It's more complicated than you think. A question from Amanda. When pulling over a public transit operator, I'm sure this happens infrequently, under what circumstances would an officer have all passengers disembark or remain on board? Well, generally speaking, if we're going to be holding somebody for any length of time, they will call another bus and transfer those people because they have a schedule to keep. And the people who are involved in the bus stop or the bus being pulled over are now being held. So we don't hold the occupants. They're free to go, and they probably just jump on the next bus that's coming up. If they were being held, it would probably be because there was an investigation that they may be witness to, or we would need their information. Maybe there was an injury on board. So it really depends. I couldn't give you a blanket one way or the other when. Every investigation is going to be different. Anything would you add anything to that, Sarge?
You know what? And where? Would you let a bunch of pedestrians out on a controlled access highway?
Certainly not.
To wander around in traffic? No.
Controlled access highway being something like the 401. We wouldn't just say get out and wait for the next bus. So we would make efforts to keep everybody safe. But there are times when, and you say infrequently, you're right, but there are times when a driver of any type of vehicle would be pulled over and charged or investigated. Why can't you tint a front windshield? Sorry, why can't you tint a front window but helmet? So same thing as sunglasses. You can raise your visor. It is not regulated. It's not part of the vehicle. It's part of your helmet. I grew up thinking, though, that you couldn't have dark visors at night. And I don't know where I came up with that as a kid, but I had that belief when I was a young 16-year-old rider.
You know what, Sean? You'll have to look at your visor as well, because they do sell visors out there that are not street legal. And
they're not optically correct.
Yeah, and for example, I have a snowmobile helmet that has a dual lens on it. I can see through it perfectly fine, but the dual lens is there so that it doesn't ice up. There's a layer, kind of like your windows in your house. There's dual pane windows. It's a dual pane visor, but that visor is not legal on the road because it is not optically correct.
That is a problem. That's another thing with the license plate covers. People say, "Well, how come clear is not okay?" Well, plastic covers that are injection or vacuum molded may not be optically correct. And the truth is that the law is very simple and just says no obstruction. It may not be optically correct. It may fade, tint, things. There's all sorts of issues. The ones that are truly meant for the road are going to be at a higher quality level. And not for license plate covers, but for visors.
I was about to say, what ones are truly meant for the road?
No. Let's see here. Why, when you buy a vehicle, you can't do any mods? You can do mods. You have to do legal mods. There are laws that deal with each and every part of the vehicle. Literally, the entire vehicle is regulated. Manufacturers do what they can to only put the things they have to by law. If they don't have to do it, they probably wouldn't. Just because why would they? They want they want to make the most amount of money on the product they're selling. And when the government says you must do all these extra things, well, they make less money because there's still a market and they have to be able to sell them. In any case, you can modify things legally, and you can't illegally.
Yep. Sean, I own multiple vehicles. I have modified them, but I've all done it with common sense and legally.
Dallas Chittle wants to know, can I legally put bull horns on my hood grill? You mean like the giant horns from, that you see down south in Texas?
Yeehaw.
I don't know. I don't know if that would be legal or illegal. Having hood ornaments is not specifically illegal. Could you skewer a pedestrian in the event of a collision? That's a potential thing that could land you in a lawsuit liability situation, but I don't know if it's illegal.
Yeah, I don't know safety standards regulations would regulate that. I know if it does block your view in the front, if it's so big that it blocks your view, that would be a problem. Yeah, I don't think there's anything in the Highway Traffic Act that would stop you other than that.
Not that I'm aware of. Shanice wants to know, how do you like to de-stress or unwind? For me, it's go home, hug my family, and probably pass out on the couch while cuddling them watching cartoons. The cartoons are irrelevant to me. I just like to be with my family. I miss them when I'm not with them. And but other than that, I have all sorts of hobbies. I got a drone recently. I like photography. I'm into this whole technology business. I design stuff. So, and photography was always a thing. But there's no one thing that I do. It's whatever gets my interest in. But family is the highest priority for me. So, Sarge, what do you like to do?
You know what? I have a happy place. That's my cottage. I have lots of toys up at the cottage, ATVs, jet skis, boats, snowmobiles. That's the way I de-stress. Go up there, hang out, enjoy the dock, enjoy the boat, enjoy the lake.
Yeah, my problem with those is the long drive to get there. I appreciate being there, but I don't want to spend all the time in the car driving.
Yeah, it's worth it for me.
I'm not knocking it.
There's a goal. There's a destination and a goal. And once you're there, you're gone.
And I often hear you telling me about all the work you have to do up there. I got enough work.
That's true. It is.
Can they have dynamic speed limits with LED signs? I mean, streets with different street limits during different times. I don't think we have anything like that here now.
We do.
We do? Where do we have
We do in
street
school
signs that
zones.
change? No, but those are flashing lights that
That change the speed limit during a certain day or certain
But I've never
time.
seen a regulated speed limit sign change. I understand different signs when, like 40 kilometers when flashing. I get
Yep.
that, but I've never seen one. And maybe I'm just not deriving the right question from what I'm reading. But I immediately went to a street sign that changes.
Yeah, I don't know if that would work. That would depend on technology for it to.
But we do have, as you said, when and one of them I'm thinking of is it Dufferin? No, it's is it Weston? What is it? It's Parkside Drive. Right after, once you cross Bloor, there's a 40-kilometer while flashing school zone thing.
I think it's Keel Street.
Is it
at
Keel?
That point, yeah.
Oh, okay.
North of Bloor, it's Keel. I believe.
Okay, Parkside, then Keel, and then becomes Weston, I think, at some point.
Yep, I think you're right.
Okay. So many names, so many streets. Can I make wide turns to avoid bottoming out? If you are bottoming out in your car, you're possibly not legally, at the right ride height. You might be having other issues at work, making your vehicle unsafe for the road.
You know what? You can make a wide turn as long as you're going from your corresponding lane to the corresponding lane.
A safe and proper turn. So you can't go wide to the point where if you're in the curb lane turning, you should be going to the other curb lane. If you go wide and go into another lane, you've made an improper turn and can be charged under the HDA.
Right.
Okay. What do we got here? So Medica Sursa, I think I read your name right, has like a dozen. He wants to know about exhaust laws, volumes, cats, straight pipes, external body kits, lowriders, spoilers, engine and performance parts and emissions. He originally asked what mods are legal, and I said, you got to list them for me, so he did. Okay, the quick answer is exhaust laws. Well, they have to be lawful and legal and do what they're designed to do. If it's not meant for the road, it won't be legal for the road. It must actually be an exhaust system, including a muffler and catalytic converter and resonator. Unless the vehicle was designed without those, and I mean that based on the year of its manufacturer, it'll be regulated based on its VIN. Straight pipes are obviously illegal because you have to have a muffler and a resonator and catalytic converter. So that's the whole exhaust situation I think we've covered. Now going into external body kits, low riders, and spoilers. So external body kits, as long as that external body doesn't make the entire vehicle wider than what is legal, and I don't remember what that number is for maximum width.
101 inches is the U.S. term or the U.S. size. I don't know what that is metric though.
101 inches is something I should remember. I'll try and commit that to memory. Low riding making it be. Now I've been told a 1.5 inch drop is the maximum you're legally allowed to. But from a police perspective, we don't know what the regular ride height's going to be. So we're going to look for body to tire contact. We're going to look for tire to frame contact, lock to lock. We're going to make sure your suspension is actually a suspension and not solid. And upon compression, we're going to look additionally for more rub. And there's evidence of that usually if it's happening. Now, engine and performance parts, we're still too vague, but you can have a high-powered engine. You can modify it to make it more powerful as long as you are maintaining emissions control and that you're not making so much noise that it's unnecessary and noise pollution kind of stuff. I don't know, anything else you'd add? Oh, spoilers. Spoilers in most cases are silly, but they have to be affixed and secure. They can't be something that's going to blow off in the wind. And you must also know that some spoilers will actually negatively affect the performance of your vehicle, like big whale tails that don't do anything for you, especially when you're talking about a front-wheel drive car. You're actually potentially removing, if you can even get to those speeds legally, weight to the front tires, making your vehicle more likely to lose control, not less. So that's my take on that.
John, I'd love the words. They're just silly.
Silly. It's silliness. Do we have any more dad jokes? Moto Windsor says, I saw a motorcycle with a modulating flashing headlight and they looked more visible. Is that legal? According to everything I've read, and I have one of these on my motorcycle, although I stopped using it years ago, not just because I haven't ridden in years ago, but it was just annoying to everybody on the road. In the mountains, when I was riding, I would use it. So
Is that the one that goes from low beam to high
yes,
beam to low beam?
high beam to low beam, not wig-wag. So wig-wag would be illegal because it's specifically outlined in the HTA that you can't go left, right. But high, low is technically not a violation according to everything I've read. And it's really bloody annoying. So to everybody else but you.
What about improper use of high beams?
Daylight only. It has a cutoff at night, so it wouldn't activate at night. Could you do improper, or could you fail to use low beam on high? Potentially
During the day?
During the day, I don't know if that'll apply because technically speaking, we're really geeking out here. Daytime running lights are your high beams. They're just at low power.
Yes.
So I think in daytime you're safe. It has to have a photoelectric kick sensor, so it doesn't function at night. Yeah. So I think that anything that makes you safer is good, but your mileage may vary. In city streets, you're going to be high beaming people. You're going to be annoying the crap out of them. But is it legal? I don't think it's illegal. Is that a non-answer answer?
Yes. You know what? Sometimes technology catches up and surpasses the laws that we currently have. And it takes a little while for somebody to make a decision on it and to become a law. For every law, there's a person out there that caused that law to actually come into effect.
I don't know what this question is. Are there stick cop cars, or were they? Oh, manual transmission police cars? Well, many years ago. I mean, I just drove one recently, 3 on the tree, if you can call that stick. Manual transmission police car. Yeah, we had one, a 1957 Chevy that we have in our fleet. It's our historic vehicle, and it's manual. It's got a clutch. It's got 3 on the tree. I've not been aware of any manual vehicles since then. Like the Plymouths that were in the 80s were all automatic.
You know what? The Volkswagens from the 70s. I wasn't around for that time, but...
the Volkswagen, though, we had the safety bugs. The safety bugs were manual. I drove those.
Actually, that is very true.
Yeah, that was fun. Quick story time. We had safety bugs that were, I think, donated by Volkswagen, and they were all done up with the respective police forces. OPP, I think York had them, we had them. There's a cute poster I have somewhere that has all the vehicles lined up together, and they were just fun, nice vehicles. The batteries would always die, but because we had so much police equipment in them. They weren't used for patrol. They were there for special events. And I used to take them out. And I remember one Caravana, myself and another Sean in the auxiliary police at traffic services, we were given the task of giving water to those working the parade route. And we had to try and get a car. Well, there were no cars available, so we took the safety bug. I have never seen people laugh at police so much as they laughed at us. 2 big guys, and I'm 6'5", and he's about the same. And we went out driving around town to give water to people on the parade route, and people saw us and belly laughed. And it was a lot. We didn't take offense to it. We acknowledged it was pretty funny seeing 2 big guys cramming that car. Let's see here. The wig-wag is illegal to have and use. Yes. And Medicus says, thanks for info on car mod rules. And it's 7 after 11, which means we've gone actually over time, which is, it happens. So we'll round it out and say, and by the way, Moto Windsor, you're very welcome. He says, thank you for the motorcycle question, statement, answer. Do you guys still have any Crown Victorias in service? I don't think we have any Crown Vics on the road. Do you know that?
Parking enforcement still uses it. Our street sweeper cars are still Crown Victorias.
There's some that are still there, but in terms of our fleet of traffic services,
long in the tooth.
Yeah, I miss that car though. I fit nicely into it.
It was a good, solid car. It worked well, in downtown areas. It was a good, solid, through bumps, through back alleys. It worked good.
What was it? There was something I was just going to talk about, and so the Crown Vics, I think they're all gone though, and I really do miss them. I'd like to see all F-150s. I would do really well with that. I fit in those.
Yeah, I like them, but I don't know how practical they are. And all the equipment that we carry, where do we store that, and where do we store it safely?
True. Do you guys know the real law? I don't know if that's a Freeman of the Land question or because we're talking about real laws. I'm assuming you're going somewhere off track with that. Tammy wants to know, are pedal bikes allowed on the sidewalk in Toronto? And it's going to be based on the bylaws of each individual jurisdiction. Toronto does not allow bicycles on the sidewalk if the rider is under the age of, is 14 or older. Not allowed. So you have to be under 14 to ride on the sidewalk. Used to be based on diameter of tire. It changed to the age of the rider. And e-bikes are never allowed on the sidewalk. What is this? Don't know what Jeremy's talking about. Whatever happened to Elmer, the yellow police car? Well, Elmer got repainted, became a white police. That's not Elmer. Elmer's an elephant. Blinky, you're talking about Blinky, the yellow police car, who became a white police car and is now parked in our garage. And he makes occasional visits to events. I actually have a dream. I actually have a plan. I want to make Blinky 2.0. I don't know if it's going to ever happen, but I've got this plan. And I'm working on it.
You want to make it out of a newer car?
I want to make it something that's installable in any police car. A kit. I've got an idea. I think it can be done. I just need some Arduino and some Raspberry Pi and some LED panels, and I think I got a plan. Do you need a disability to ride a mobility scooter? No, but the mobility scooter must be created, manufactured, and have particular markings to make it a mobility scooter. It must also conform with the thing. Somebody was stopped in BC in an off-road go-kart that they were claiming was a mobility scooter. That's like me taking a Ferrari and claiming that it's a mobility scooter. It's preposterous. But there are very specifically requirements. There are specific requirements for that, but no one's going to should be able to question you as to what your mobility needs or disabilities are. Can I vape with kids in the car? No. If you have someone under the age of 16, it's against the law to vape or smoke in a car under the Smoke-Free Ontario Act. What's the highest speed limit in Ontario? I believe it's 110 kilometers an hour for certain stretches of highway that have recently gone from pilot to permanent. Private property driving without a license, is it okay? Okay is a big stretch. Is it something we can enforce? No, we can't lay charges for driving without a license. However, we can charge people for stunt driving and or dangerous driving on private property. I think we're done. I think we're done. But that, in terms of questions, I apologize for anyone who had more questions that we didn't get to. We're out of time, but we do have to share these best corny dad jokes that I have on a website here.
John?
Yes?
What do you call a police officer's uniform?
What do you call a police officer's uniform?
Is that maybe like your law suit?
Lawsuit. Okay. Yes. I'm afraid for the calendar. Its days are numbered.
Ba-dum-bum.
Yeah. My wife said I should do lunges to stay in shape. That would be a big step forward. Why do fathers take an extra pair of socks when they go golfing?
Just in case they get a hole in one?
Yes. What? Oh, no. What do a tick and the Eiffel Tower have in common?
I don't know.
They're both parasites. I already said this one. Did I tell you? Yeah, you said you're going to keep the fish wearing a bow tie?
Yes, I did.
Sophisticated. I like that a lot.
Yep.
Oh, gosh. How do you follow Will Smith in the snow? You follow the Fresh Prince.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
John, what's brown and sticky?
I'm scared. What?
A stick.
That's actually excellent. Okay. Okay. Unless you got another one, this could be the last one because it's the last one on my page. Oh no, there's tons. There's tons of them. We'll save them for another day. I thought the dryer was shrinking my clothes. Turns out it was the refrigerator all along.
I get it.
Do you? Because I don't. I read it and I'm like, I don't get it.
The refrigerator is making your clothes seem smaller because you're eating more.
Ah, that makes a lot
There
more
you go.
sense. Yeah, terrible.
What the police officers say to his belly button.
You're under a vest.
There you go.
Someone gave that to me a couple days ago, and I used it. It was in honor of you, even though you were not there. What do you call a factory that makes okay products?
I don't know.
A satisfactory. Dear math, grow up and solve your own problems. Okay. Some of these are just not worth reading.
Did you hear about the kidnapping at the school?
I'm scared.
Oh, it's all fine. He woke up.
Shh.
The kid
Napping.
napping at the school.
Oh. Why do why do seagulls fly over the ocean?
Because if they flew over the bay, they'd be bagels.
Yes. Oh. I only know 25 letters of the alphabet. I don't know why.
Yes.
How does the moon cut its hair? Eclipse it. These are really bad.
I used
These
to
are
hate
supposed to be the
facial
best.
hair. You know that, Sean?
Really?
Yeah, but then it grew on me. Okay.
That's
I
it.
think we're done.
This is
That's
so
it.
bad. All right, listen, have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend. If you're going to drive sober. If you're going to park legally. But at the end of the day, take some time for you. Enjoy, whatever you got going on. And we will see you back here Monday, 10 a.m. We'll do it all over again. And actually, no, I'm lying to you. We have stuff going on next week. We're going to have some possibly on location live streams. It's going to be interesting. We're going to see how that flies. We're going to be at different. We're going to be at Centennial College every day next week for like an hour. So I don't know how it's going to play out. We might be doing afternoon sessions to keep you guys in the know. But either way, we will post more when we know more. I'll go talk to the sergeant about that right now. Have a wonderful time, and here's the traffic song.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get freed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,